Somewhere in Turkey, there's a temple older than farming itself. Older than the wheel, older than writing, older than the idea of a village. 11,000 years old. And nobody has ever explained why it's there. In Peru, there's art carved into the desert floor so large that the people who made it may never have actually seen it. You need to be hundreds of feet in the air to even recognize what it is. And in Bolivia, there's stone, cut with a kind of precision that modern masons with modern tools still argue about. Because by every rule we know, it shouldn't be possible. Historians have a word for all of this: unexplained. It's a polite word. It means we looked and we still don't know. Tonight we're going through 7 of these. Real places, real objects, things you can fly to and stand in front of tomorrow if you wanted to. Not legends, not reconstructions, just facts that professional archaeologists have spent decades studying and still can't fully close the case on. No aliens, no lost continents, just 7 mysteries that refuse to be solved. Let's start with the one that broke the entire timeline of human history. Göbekli Tepe, Turkey. A German archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt is sitting with an old survey report from the 1960s, a report almost everyone had ignored. It mentions a hill in southeastern Turkey, some broken limestone slabs. Nothing special. The earlier team had already written them off as medieval gravestones and walked away. Schmidt didn't walk away. He went to the hill himself. And within minutes of standing on that surface, he knew something was wrong. Not wrong with the hill, wrong with the assumption. What his team eventually pulled out of the ground were T-shaped limestone pillars, some over 5.5 meters tall, 10 tons of solid stone carved with foxes, scorpions, boars, vultures, arranged in careful circles, and when they dated the site, 9,600 BCE. Now, here's where you need to stop and actually sit with that number. Farming, actual agriculture, doesn't exist yet for another 1,500 years. No pottery, no metal tools. By every model we've built about how humans developed, the people living here should have been small, scattered hunting bands with no ability to organize something like this. So who fed the workers? Who directed them? Who decided 10-ton stones needed to stand in a circle before a single permanent village existed anywhere nearby? Schmidt's answer flipped 100 years of archaeology upside down. Maybe the temple came first. Maybe farming was invented to feed the people building it, not the other way around. But that's not even the part that keeps researchers up at night. Around 8,000 BCE, the people who built this place didn't abandon it. They didn't let it crumble. They buried it on purpose. Layer by layer, rubble and soil, until it disappeared completely. Why would you erase the very thing you spent generations building? Nobody has an answer, not one that holds up. And it turns out, this is only the first time on this list that people go to enormous effort to hide what they made. If you wanted the textbook answer, you'd have closed this video already. You're still here because you want the part they leave out. So, subscribe if that's what this channel is for you. Now, you tell me, why bury a temple you spent generations building? Drop your theory below. I actually read these. The Nazca Lines, Peru. From a buried temple in Turkey, we go somewhere stranger, a stretch of Peruvian desert where the art was never meant to be seen. At least, not by the people who made it. Somewhere between 500 BCE and 500 CE, the Nazca people scraped away the top layer of reddish desert stone, exposing the pale ground underneath. That's it. That's the entire technique. No paint, no tools we'd recognize as art supplies, just removal. And what they left behind is enormous. Over 800 straight lines, 300 geometric shapes, 70 figures of animals and plants. A hummingbird 66 meters wide, a spider stretched across 47 meters, a monkey with a tail curling out to 55 meters. Here's the part that should stop you. Stand on the ground next to any of these figures and you can't see them at all. They just look like shallow scrapes in the dirt, meaningless lines going nowhere. You need altitude, hundreds of feet of it, just to see what's actually there. The Nazca had no aircraft, no balloons, no hill tall enough nearby to view most of these from above. So who were they drawing this for? We know how they built the lines. Simple surveying, stakes, string, scaled up from smaller models. That part's been tested, replicated, confirmed. That was never the real mystery. The mystery is why. Why spend generations of labor on images you yourself may never fully see? One theory from Maria Reiche, who spent over 50 years of her life mapping and guarding these lines, says it's an astronomical calendar tracking solstices, tracking water. Others say the lines were meant to be walked, not viewed. A ritual path, experienced from the ground, not the sky. Nobody's proven either one. And somehow, in one of the driest places on Earth, these lines have survived over 1,500 years, just sitting there, waiting for someone to finally get it right. But drawings in sand are one thing. What we're looking at next is stone that shouldn't have been possible to cut at all. Puma Punku, Bolivia high in the Bolivian mountains, over 3,800 meters up, near Lake Titicaca, there's a site called Puma Punku. Most of it is rubble now, massive blocks scattered like something tore the place apart. But it's what survived the destruction that nobody can fully explain. Some of these blocks are cut from andesite, a stone almost as hard as granite. The biggest one on site weighs an estimated 131 tons. And on the smaller blocks, the ones that survived intact, you see something that shouldn't be there. Flat surfaces, drilled holes, interlocking notches cut with angles so consistent from block to block that some researchers describe them as looking machine-milled. Here's the problem. The nearest quarry is 10 kilometers away. The people who built this had no draft animals strong enough to haul stone that size. No wheels in use, no iron, no steel, just harder stone and, as far as we can tell, abrasive grinding done by hand for what must have been an unimaginable amount of time. Engineers who've studied the site will tell you it's not technically impossible. Experiments have replicated similar cuts with stone and bone tools. That's not the mystery either. The mystery is that the civilization who built this, the Tiwanaku, left no written record, none. By the time Spanish colonizers arrived, the site was already in ruins, already abandoned, already a mystery to the people living nearby. Everything we think we know about how they built it, we're reverse engineering from scratch marks on stone. No blueprint, no first-hand account, nothing. Around 1000 CE, a long drought wiped the Tiwanaku out as a civilization. They vanished, and they left behind the most precisely cut stonework anywhere in the pre-Columbian Americas, with absolutely no explanation of how they pulled it off. 3 sites in, 3 unanswered questions, and we haven't even gotten to the one that was hiding underwater for centuries, undiscovered until a farmer's curiosity cracked it open. Quick question before we keep going. Where are you watching this from? Drop your country in the comments. I want to see exactly how far this reaches. The Longyou Caves, China, June 1992. Zhejiang Province, China. A group of villagers decide to finally drain what they call the bottomless ponds. Small lakes their own ancestors had warned them for generations never to swim in. As the water drops, it doesn't reveal a lake bed. It reveals an entrance, a massive hand-carved chamber cut straight into solid rock that had been sitting there, flooded and hidden for who knows how long. Since then, at least 36 more caverns have turned up in the same area, every one of them carved entirely out of solid siltstone. Some ceilings rise over 30 meters. That's roughly a 10-story building carved downward into the earth by hand. The walls are covered in chisel marks, thousands of them spaced with almost unsettling consistency, running in uniform diagonal patterns across every surface, like the same hand made every single stroke. To carve just one of these caves at this scale, researchers estimate, would have taken a large team years of non-stop labor. Now multiply that by 36 known caves. And here's what should genuinely unsettle you. There is no record, no inscription, no local legend that predates the discovery. No tool, no bone, no piece of pottery. Nothing was ever found inside these caves that tells us who did this, or when, or why. The best estimate places construction sometime before 212 BCE. But that's a guess with a margin of centuries. Somebody organized a labor project on the scale of building a small pyramid, underground, in complete secrecy from history itself. And then they vanished without leaving so much as a name. Local folklore just calls it the Ancients. Archaeologists, more carefully, call it one of the largest unresolved engineering mysteries in Chinese history, which, if you strip away the careful language, means the same thing. Nobody knows. And if you think a mystery with no clues is unsettling, wait until you hear about the object that has thousands of symbols. And still, after more than 100 years, not one confirmed answer.
The Phaistos Disc, 1908. Italian archaeologist Luigi Pernier is digging through the ruins of a Minoan palace on the island of Crete when he finds something small, sitting in the basement of an old temple storeroom. A disc of fired clay, just 15 centimeters across. Nothing that should have survived over 3,000 years. And yet it did. Both sides are covered in stamped symbols, 241 of them, made from 45 different pictographic signs, spiraling from the outer edge all the way to the center. Here's what makes this object different from almost anything else found in the ancient world. These symbols weren't carved by hand, one at a time. They were stamped, pressed into wet clay, using individual pre-made seals, one for each character. That means whoever made this had something close to movable type. Centuries, maybe thousands of years, before printing was supposedly invented anywhere on the planet. The clay dates to roughly 1700 BCE, and in the century plus since it was found, using every tool modern cryptography and linguistics can throw at it, nobody has cracked it, not definitively. Dozens of scholars have proposed answers: a prayer, a game, a calendar, a business record, even an eclipse tracker. Every single one has been challenged, picked apart, or outright rejected by other specialists. Here's why it's so hard. The Rosetta Stone worked because Egyptologists had a second known language to compare it against. This disc has nothing, no second copy, no bilingual key. It is, as far as anyone has found, the only object of its kind that has ever existed. One artifact, 45 unknown symbols, 0 confirmed translation. It's sitting behind glass in a museum in Crete right now, waiting for someone smarter than everyone before them to finally read it. We've seen stone we can't explain, and symbols we can't read. Next, walls that have survived earthquakes that flattened everything built around them. Sacsayhuamán, Peru. On a hill overlooking Cusco, Peru, there's a set of walls the Inca built in the 1400s, though some researchers suspect parts of the foundation are even older than that. And what makes these walls famous isn't their size. It's what happens when you get close enough to touch them. You cannot fit a sheet of paper into the seams between the stones. Not a knife blade, not anything. Some of these blocks weigh over 120 tons. The largest documented stone on site is estimated at 200 tons. No mortar anywhere. Every single stone is cut with irregular, unique edges, interlocking with its neighbors like a puzzle where no two pieces are the same shape. And yet, every piece fits perfectly. The nearest quarry is 3.5 kilometers away, across rough mountain terrain. The Inca had no iron, no wheels, no animal strong enough to haul stone this heavy. A Spanish chronicler, writing in the 1550s, recorded local accounts of thousands of men dragging these blocks with ropes, log rollers, and ramps. That much we can believe. It's difficult, but not impossible. What nobody has ever fully reconstructed is the cutting itself. How do you shape irregular, multi-ton stones to interlock this precisely, using nothing but harder stone and abrasion? And get it right every single time? In 1533, when the Spanish reached this site, they described it as already ancient. In 1650, a massive earthquake tore through Cusco and collapsed the colonial buildings the Spanish had built. Sacsayhuaman didn't move. Not one stone. It still hasn't. We're almost done. But the last discovery on this list isn't stone at all, and it might be the strangest thing you hear tonight. 6 discoveries in. Be honest, which one actually got under your skin? Not the biggest number. The one that actually made you stop and think. Tell me down in the comments. I read every single one of these. The Voynich Manuscript, 1912. A Polish book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich buys a small, unremarkable-looking manuscript from a Jesuit college in Italy. Roughly 240 pages of vellum, filled edge to edge with flowing cursive handwriting, in an alphabet that matches no known language on Earth. Alongside the text, illustrations of plants that don't match any known species, star charts with constellations nobody recognizes, and strange diagrams of figures bathing in networks of green tubes. The vellum has been dated to between 1404 and 1438, the early Renaissance. Here's what makes this different from every other undeciphered text in history. The Rosetta Stone worked because there was a second language to compare it to. Linear B, another ancient script, was finally cracked because it turned out to be an early form of Greek. This manuscript has no bridge like that. Nothing to compare it against. And yet, it's not gibberish. Researchers have run statistical analysis on the word patterns, letter frequencies, grammatical structure. It behaves like a real language, consistent, repeatable, just unreadable. For over 100 years, codebreakers, linguists, even military cryptographers who worked on real wartime codes have thrown everything they have at this thing. Every claimed solution, and there have been dozens, has collapsed under scrutiny. It sits today in Yale University's rare book library, fully digitized, available for anyone in the world to try. 600 years, every modern tool we've ever built for breaking codes. And we still don't know what it says, what language it's even written in, or why someone in the 1400s went through this much trouble to write something nobody since has been able to reo. Think about what we just walked through. A temple buried by the very people who built it. Lines drawn in a desert meant to be seen by no one on the ground. Stone cut with a precision we can barely replicate today. Caves carved in total secrecy, then erased from every record. Symbols nobody can read. Walls that outlasted earthquakes, and a book that's kept its secret for 600 years. Every one of these is real. You can go stand in front of any of them. None of them need aliens to explain them. What they need is an answer we simply haven't found yet. And maybe that's the actual pattern here. Not that the people who came before us were more advanced or less. Just that every generation looks back and assumes it's finally figured out the whole story. And every generation has been wrong.